Welcome everyone to another episode of Talking Team. And today I'm super excited. Think I say super excited a lot. I need to come up with a new line, but we have Marii with us today from Canada also. And she's a registered psychologist working in Alberta, providing telehealth services. Welcome. Glad to have you.
Hello. I'm happy to be here.
Okay, well, let's just start with our intro question, which we pretty much ask everyone, and that's how did you get into team?
So I got into team through my like a group practice I joined, and they were all really into David Burns, and they were using the brief mood surveys. Only the before session part though. So I was so glad to find the after session part. So that's where my introduction came to Team CBT. And then I just loved the approach. And then I signed up for the courses and then signed up for the Tuesday group and all of that. So like everyone gonna if you find it, you get in.
Yeah, just like you dipped your toe and then hey,
Yeah.
love it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely hear that a lot for sure.
Yeah, no, it's so interesting. It's great to have everyone around here. I feel like we have the Canadians here, so I'm the lone American. But I was thinking it's interesting, that we talk about team, the four aspects of TEA and M. So it's really kind of like the testing that got you introduced to it. So, but if you could maybe tell us a little bit more, like how you really got immersed into the experience and got more into the training.
Yeah, I think I started with Mike's training, Mike Christensen's training, and he's a incredible trainer. So his course was very engaging, and I started implementing with my clients right away, and I could see the improvement in my clinical skills and improvement in my clients too. So that just kind of made me wanna learn more. I think I took some like the 1-day workshops. And that kind of like seeing David in action. It's like, whoa, mind blown. So yeah, you're just gonna like introduce that dip in and you're gonna sink.
You just jumped right in. And I was so curious when you say like you kind of like improved your clinical skills, because I feel that same way. Like tell me what does that mean? Like how did you see improvement in your clinical skills? I'm sure you were skilled even before.
Well, I think like what helped me the most is kind of the structure that team gives. First of all, like getting that testing going and getting feedback from my clients, and really knowing what works for my clients and what doesn't work, and so I can gonna adjust it and gonna have those conversations that really help clients move forward. And then my favorite part is the agenda setting or the assessing the resistance, because I find like a lot of my clients just improve by doing that, like understanding all the positives behind their symptoms. I work a lot with moms, and they feel guilty about feeling angry or anxious or whatnot. Mm-hmm. So if they get to see that positive side of their anger or anxiety, it's kind of like, wow, like there's a reason why I feel this way. And that kind of takes a lot of that, like the symptoms go down right away, I feel. And then it's just kind of like a little bit giving them techniques or something like that to kind of talk back to those thoughts, and then they're off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I could relate to the mother thing. I mean, those guilt thoughts, right? They really come at you. And I love that you're saying that you saw the improvement in real time, and they started feeling better quite quickly as they were able to crush these thoughts. And so, Marii, you were mentioning we were talking about ETS and forms and testing, and you had an example of a client. Share that with us.
Yeah, I had one client who was struggling with anxiety, and I thought like we always talk about that hidden emotion there. And I was like, oh, I'm getting there. I know exactly why you felt anxious in that moment. And I was like really honing in on that and kind of really focusing on that. And I thought that like it was a great session. And then I read the evaluation of therapy session, and what the client least liked was me really honing in on that aspect, because that wasn't true at all. So I felt pretty bummed after reading that. But then like next session I had a chance to approach that client and bring that up, and they really appreciated me kind of saying admitting that I made a mistake and kind of asking them what they felt like during the session when I was really kind of pushing on that direction, and they were like, no, that's not right at all. So like I find that so powerful that we have that tool, the testing tool, to kind of go back and get that feedback. And I know that a lot of clinicians are afraid that like, oh, my client will never tell what they actually thought. That's not true at all. They will tell you exactly what they liked or didn't like during the session. So yeah, I'm really glad to have that evaluation of their position.
I love that. You're pointed out the clients tend to be honest for the most part, and you'll notice when they're being too nice, because they'll kind of put that on the form too, as we learn to read this one. So I should let our viewers know, for those who don't know, an ETS is the evaluation of therapy session, and it's an after survey that we give our clients that talks about how our relationship is with the client and how much they like the session or didn't like the session. And it, gives us some feedback in terms of, are we going in the right direction? But what I've noticed, if clients are too nice, they mark all like 20 out of 20 for empathy and all this stuff. But then they might just put like a little bit upsetting to criticize the therapist. And you get the sense that they're just always being nice. And then you can bring that up and say, oh, I'm excited about hearing all your feedback, and you can give them a little encouragement.
I also, if I might say, like, I also find that with anxious clients, initially they start with like 2020, 2020, like everything is perfect. And then you get to know when the relationship is there, the connection is made, when they start actually telling you what they didn't like about
your scores go down when you're actually connecting. I'm so glad you pointed that out.
Yeah.
That's like the best thing that can happen sometimes. Right?
I've done that with the brief mood surveys as well. So the brief mood survey is the survey that the client fills in for their emotions right before the session and right after. And there's been some clients where I get so excited when their anxiety goes up after the session, which, we might be thinking, oh, we're here to cure their anxiety. But they're so good at avoiding that if we can get them anxious in the session, it's actually a win. But so the tools are helpful as we learn to use them. And I think that makes a big difference. It's not a cookie cutter. I love that it's a structure, but not a cookie cutter, one size fits all approach for sure.
Yep.
Yeah, I love that. We're going to talk about that, because I think you're right also, Angela. Like, when those scores go up in any way on the brief mood survey, it's our client being vulnerable now, and now we could actually kind of have a chance to get into what are those thoughts, of course, that are possibly causing the negative emotions. And or if I could get back to you mentioned before, I was so interested, I was fascinated by where people are, what type of population they're kind of working with. And you mentioned you work a lot with moms and the guilty feelings that they have. And I think you mentioned that you work with women kind of during pregnancy and also who have young children. So curious if you could tell me a little bit like how you're finding these tools, working with them, what kind of issues kind of come up. It's interesting, in Feeling Great, there's a couple of examples, right, of young mothers in the beginning of the book, and then the first story is about a mom and feeling guilty. So I'm very interested to hear you tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so I usually I work with women during pregnancy, postpartum, and beyond. So like a lot of like parenting stuff as well, and I find like a lot of moms come in with a great deal of anxiety, just like kind of like worried about the baby's health, what's going to happen, and all of those things. And they feel guilty about feeling that anxiety, because anxiety takes them away from the present moment a lot of times, and they're not able to be as attentive to their babies, and they sometimes don't feel as connected with the babies as well, because they're so worried about everything happening and they're researching everything. So the anxiety is a lot of times that brings them in to my office. What helps with the team is like I said, the resistance part, like doing that positive reframing, really showing them where's the anxiety coming from, like all the good things about the anxiety, all the good things that it shows about them, all the protective factors or the advantages of feeling anxious. But like kind of really them realizing that they don't need to have that high level of anxiety that's making them feel disconnected, making them feel like doing that research, spending hours on that, so they can let go of that a little bit and then kind of be able to focus on the baby. So the positive reframe is really, really helpful for them. And also we were talking about that team is like it is gives us structure, but it's different for every client, because like the reasons why they feel anxious are different. Like the reasons why their feelings are coming up, like the that's different. Then we can kind of really hone in on like what's the reason for you, and kind of make it personalized. And the empathy part, obviously, as well. Like the David is so great that's kind of teaching us that 5 secrets and really making sure that our clients feel heard and kind of normalizing those feelings for them. Like it's so normal to have that anxiety.
For sure. That affirmation, David calls it stroking. We would say, you know, encouragement and affirmation and normalizing. There's lots of different terms for basically the same skill. Wanted to hear a little bit about how team has affected you personally.
Yeah. So yeah, like I didn't work with mom so much before I had my own daughter almost 5 years ago now. And the transition to motherhood was really hard for me. My daughter didn't sleep a lot. We don't have any family in Canada. So my husband was working a lot. So I got I would say, like, I didn't got diagnosed or anything, but I think I had a postpartum depression, and later on, when I'm reflecting back, there might have been some anxiety there as well. And then I found team just right on time, and it really helped me to kind of show myself that like it started with the kindness piece, actually showing myself that empathy and validation, and kind of really seeing what's behind those feelings that are coming up for me, and the struggles I'm having. I was just trying to be the best mom I could, and with the little resources I had. So it was life changing for me, for sure. And like I keep using the tools, like it's like something comes up for me, and then just like kind of bring pull out that daily mood log or bring up that positive reframing table, and you feel better.
It's such a gift. Yeah. I would be surprised if you're using some double standard technique for yourself, right? You want to tell our viewers, you know, how the double standard works?
Yeah, double standard. Yeah, it's a great technique, but I find that it doesn't always work with my moms, because they have very high standards for themselves, but not so high for their friends. So
I was wondering for yourself if that was helpful when you were, you know,
it was, for sure. Because most of my friends, like real life friends, didn't have babies, and that was like harder for them to relate to what I was going through. So kind of imagining this friend that is kind of similar situation to me, and kind of talking to that person and seeing their struggles. I think that's where the validation and kind of like really the empathy came for myself too, when I was kind of doing that exercise of like talking to that friend who kind of was in the similar situation as I was, and just kind of having that conversation kind of made me realize the reality of that situation, and what they're going through, and is it like do they have to kind of scold themselves and have that that negative talk? Is that helpful, or it would be better to kind of be more kinder to yourself and kind of accepting?
Yeah, that kindness is hard to come by when it's from ourselves. You know, we tend to be pretty critical of ourselves, and I love the kindness that you're sharing and sharing with us here. And I hate that I'm looking at the timer, but I am looking at the timer, and we've run out of time. So we're going to end with our last question, which is, if all the therapists and clinicians in the world were listening, what's one thing about team that you'd like them to know?
I don't remember what I put on the forum anymore. But like, I think like with CBT in general, how I learned CBT is so different how my colleagues in here are gonna perceiving CBT as like very formulaic, very structured, very not personal. very non-empathetic, but team kind of really brings in that empathy part. Team really brings in that we need to make sure that our therapy approach is personalized to the person that's in front of us. So I think the empathy part about the team is really that everyone should learn and everyone should know and give that, like the CBT part there, a chance as well, with the team attached to it.
I love what you're saying. And I know David hesitated even having CBT at the end because of exactly what you're saying. There's a perception of what that looks like. And we use actually a lot of tools that aren't necessarily CBT, right? We use psychodynamic techniques. And I know some colleagues who are really into some of the psychodynamic techniques and ACT and all kinds of things. So I just love what you're saying.
Yeah. And now I just went through EMDR training and I was so skeptical, but now I'm like, I'm a changed person again. So, and I can see how we can even like incorporate EMDR in team approach. So like whatever approach you're using at the moment, there's a space for team. Yeah. You can kind of just like use that and then add it.
Yeah. Tools, not schools. So
tools, not schools.
This was fantastic. I wish we had more time, but we're so appreciative of you joining us for a few minutes, hearing about the amazing work you're doing with those moms, and our team has helped you as well. And thank you so much for joining us for this episode.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you to our viewers. So we'll see you on another episode of Talking Team CBT.